Amidst the countless hours we've logged playing video games over the years, I imagine we've all filed a list of specific moments in our memories. They could be a collection of our favorite levels or boss battles, but for whatever reason, they're moments that stand out, even years after we experience them for the first time. For me personally, this is one of those moments. The opening sequence of Metroid Prime is a remarkable mission statement. A bold proclamation from Texas-based Retro Studios which utterly silenced a vast majority of their skeptics by making a few things exceedingly clear. Not only had Retro found a way to translate Metroid seamlessly into a first-person perspective, but they did so without diluting an ounce of the distinct aura which made the franchise so compelling in the first place. Simply put, Metroid Prime is not only the definitive release for the Nintendo GameCube, it's also one of the greatest games Nintendo has ever released. Appearances can be deceiving because Metroid Prime isn't a first-person shooter painted in Metroid colors. In fact, it's really not a first-person shooter at all. It's meticulously faithful to what made the Metroid games so special and unique, and if it changed anything by switching perspectives, it actually amplified the foreboding atmosphere and feeling of utter isolation that defined the original games and set the tone for the franchise. You are alone, stranded in a vast alien world, and as you begin to explore its narrow tunnels and dark caverns, you have no choice but to dig deeper. From the moment you begin playing Prime, it's immediately clear that the perspective shift allows Metroid to be exactly what it was intended to be when Nintendo's R&D 1 team spawned it in 1986. Producer Gunpei Yokoi and his team based much of the game's overwhelming atmosphere on the film Alien, even naming their antagonist after its director, Ridley Scott. By putting players behind the mask of heroine Samus Aran, Metroid Prime is able to summon that kind of dread and atmosphere far more effectively. Metroid is about exploration, and Prime makes that exploration compellingly uneasy. Bounty hunter Samus Aran retrieves a distress signal from the Orpheon, a massive frigate operated by nefarious space pirates. She arrives with trepidation to find the crew slaughtered, and as she explores the Orpheon and delves deeper into its flesh-strewn passageways, you immediately feel the Metroidness of the game bleeding through. The sequence ends with an epic boss battle, a thrilling escape from within the steel guts of the exploding Orpheon, and a crash landing on the planet Talon 4, where Samus pursues her nemesis only to find a far greater evil awaits her. Of course, she'll have to find that evil first, and exploring Talon 4 feels very much like traversing a huge alien world. From the ruins crumbling on its surface, to its frozen mountain ranges, to its space pirate research labs which are dripping with Ridley Scott's alien influence, Talon 4 feels every bit as huge as the planet Zebes did in the first Metroid, and exploring its dark nooks and eerie crannies is both what makes Prime so engaging and what makes it so Metroid. The controls are rooted in the series status quo. You move Samus with the analog stick, fire with the A button, and jump with the B button. You may be doing these things from a new viewpoint, but it still feels a lot like it did in the old games, which shows the attention Retro paid to even the tiniest Metroid details. Obviously, the new perspective also allows for new gameplay mechanics. Samus can lock onto foes and look around with the R button, but the game doesn't use dual analog control, so you'll need to lock onto targets and strafe. FPS veterans may justly find the controls a bit clunky, but keep in mind, Prime isn't an FPS. This game is about exploration, and in that context, the controls work well. Unlike past Metroid games, there's also a gripping story nestled within Metroid Prime, but it's entirely up to you to uncover it. Samus's visor can scan much of her surroundings to uncover vital information about Talon's past and present, so if you're astute with your scanning, you'll be rewarded with the most detailed and engrossing narrative ever written for a Metroid game. A story that chronicles how one civilization rose, thrived, and subsequently crumbled. Of course, Metroid Prime paints its story with a remarkably potent brush. Retro Studios deserve serious credit because there may not be a developer on the planet with a more keen understanding that art and design transcend hardware capabilities. Although the game's beauty should have faded in the 6 years since its release, it still looks fantastic, and that's due entirely to Retro's incredible art direction, which is as functional in Metroid Prime as it is beautiful. And how beautiful is Metroid Prime? A game that's most enduring and perhaps most significant achievement is the humanization of one of gaming's most iconic franchises. Samus had never been more than a steel-suited hunter who seemed as cold and lifeless as the frigid world she explored, but Prime changed that. With every flash of light, in fact, we're reminded this isn't a story about some robotic warrior. It's about a woman who is utterly alone, and we're given a chance to share that feeling of isolation for the first time in the groundbreaking Metroid Prime.